All right. Thank you for taking your seats quickly and quietly. And now, please join me in welcoming our main speaker, Dick from Redondo Beach.
We got fun. My name's Dick. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a sober member of the South Bay Trudgers group of Alcoholics Anonymous. I got sober September 25th, 1975. I was 28. Had black hair just like that. I had no wrinkles. And I was very, very cool. And smart. When you're 28, you're still really smart. It's almost as bad as how smart you are when you're a teenager. It's not as dangerous, but it still was there for me anyway. And so I got to talk for 45 minutes. I'm not a podium speaker. I got kidnapped at the door, actually. That's why I don't have a suit and tie on, which is a good thing. You can always tell when people show up in a coat and tie. If they wear one on a regular basis, you can usually tell. And if this is the first time they had one on in years, you can also tell. And so I'm glad I didn't have to put one on. I don't know. The problem with talking for 45 minutes is you got to fill it up with a whole lot of stuff that has almost nothing to do with alcoholism. You know, people do that. I'm probably going to do that. Tell you about my life that has nothing to do with alcoholism. I was a military brat. I'm the oldest of 8 kids. One girl is in there. My sister's 11 months younger than I am. All the rest are boys. I'm 77. My youngest brother is 62. It's 15-year spread between us. My dad was career Navy. I got born in Newport, Rhode Island, went to Pensacola. We got to spend 8 years in Hawaii. And I was a good kid. I was a liar, cheat, and a thief. I hadn't drank yet. We left Hawaii in between 7th and 8th grade and came to California. So I hadn't drank to that point other than, I get a sip of beer and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't have that thing happen where I had a sip off my old man's beer and it was like, oh, my God, I found it. I didn't have any of that. But I already was a liar, cheat, and a thief. I already was in trouble. My dad had already made trips to the principal's office and to the base police and stuff like that. And I don't know where that came from. That's just, I have no idea. I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? I just was a little neighborhood punk in a neighborhood. I don't know if you've ever lived in a housing project. A military housing projects are just swarming with kids. And everybody is in the same boat. Everybody's equal. They don't let my dad was a chief in the Navy. That's an enlisted man, so you don't mingle with the officers' kids. Enlisted people have tons of kids back in the day, all races, colors, and creeds. And so, overall, it was a cool way to grow up. Hawaii, obviously, was a nice place to have to be. And then we came to California, down to the desert. There's a little naval air station in a place called El Centro, California, in the Imperial Valley. If you've ever been to Palm Springs, El Centro is about 80 miles further on and twice as ugly and 3 times as hot. And there's nothing there. It's an agricultural area. And then I went into 8th grade at this new school. And that's where I started drinking, just regular kid drinking, right? That's what kids do on Fridays and Saturdays. Let me put it this way. That's what I did on Fridays and Saturdays and a couple other knuckleheads that I could find. And we were getting our alcohol however we could get it. And raising hell, stealing cars. But it wasn't really like stealing cars because in the 60s, people didn't lock up their houses and they didn't lock up their cars either. If you needed a car, the keys were like under the seat, on the floorboard, or in the visor. And you could just take your pick. And so we would take our pick. We would get a 6-pack of beer apiece. This was in the beginning, and we would take somebody's car from the neighborhood and go drive around on the ditch banks and get drunk, and occasionally we'd get lucky and see if we could put our hands on some poor, unfortunate young lady, and that's the stuff we did. I went to high school there. We moved off of the base. My dad got out of the Navy. And what happened is my drinking just started progressing. So, everybody starts off with a couple of beers, you get a little buzz, and then you get a six-pack of beer, blah, 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 blah. So by the time I'm like a freshman or a sophomore, like a six-pack of Budweiser and a half pint is what I was doing for the most part. And that seemed to do it okay. I always drove. I never had a car. And my old man never let me drive his car because one night when we stole his car, I wrecked it. And I asked him one time when I got my driver's license, I said, "Hey, Dad, can I borrow the car?" He couldn't stop laughing. And he said, "Son, you will never drive my car. You will drive a car when you have the money to buy your own." And it's okay. But the good news was that I could drink and drive better than my friends could drink and drive, and they always had their parents' cars, or they had cars. I always worked. I never could figure out how these kids could afford to have their cars and buy gas and stuff like that. Because I guess they were getting money from their folks. I worked all the time. We worked in the fields with the braceros when I was a kid. 90 cents an hour to chuck watermelons and pick tomatoes and pick citrus and drive tractors and irrigate fields and stuff like that for 90 cents an hour. And then one day I graduated. I got a job at the Shell station for $1 and a dime an hour. And that was pretty good. And the bonus was that I had the keys to the till. So actually I was making a little more than that. I don't know exactly how much because I couldn't. I made amends for $400, but I actually have no idea how much money I stole from that guy over the course of a couple of years. Along the line, I still was in trouble with the local police for minor in possession of alcohol, drag racing, fighting, minor in possession of alcohol, fighting, ba-dum. And I was in and out of school. I was either suspended or expelled several times in each of my years in high school. And and my dad wasn't coming to meetings anymore. He wasn't coming to meetings at the school anymore, where they would all sit around and they would all sit around. Looking back on it, was pretty interesting. They would be saying stuff like, "We just don't understand, Mr. Maddox, what's wrong with your son Richard? He has such potential." That's all I remember out of those discussions, was that I had potential. And but I couldn't stand being in school. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't for the life of me imagine what I would do with another year of math or one more goddamn year of English, and or civics or U.S. history or any of those kinds of things. Because I didn't aspire to anything. I didn't aspire to anything except what I saw in front of me. What I saw in front of me at the time was my old man was career Navy, and that's what I knew. And so I figured, well, someday I'll just go in the Navy. And by the time I was 18, so I found out in May 17th of 1965, I got expelled. I haven't been able to find out how come, but I know that's the date. That's 1 month before That's 1 month before graduation, and a week later I was in Navy boot camp in San Diego. And 6 months after that, I had reached the pinnacle of my life. I was drunk in a whorehouse in the Philippines at 18, and I'm thinking, man, life cannot possibly be better than this. And I haven't had a wild, crazy dream. I have never had anything come on me where I have spotted something was like, man, I wish I had learned how to do that. I wish I had learned how to do this, except for one. I was up in the Sierras backpacking one time, and I saw the park ranger guy coming down the trail. And we stopped and chatted for a while and da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking, man, if I'd have known that kind of job existed, I might have wanted to do that. Just walk around in the Sierras, pick up trash and fix trails and help people get down off the mountain. They're lost. Other than that, I never aspired to anything. So I don't know what the hell that means. I'm amazed. I'm amazed at the time my kids in high school, everybody was going to go be an aerospace engineer in the 60s. And I was like blown away. Like they graduated and they went to college and they were aerospace engineers in San Diego and up here in El Segundo, right? And yeah, it confuses me. Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. What I aspire to now is, most of my working life, I aspire to be retired. And yeah, I recommend retirement for everyone. You have to get rid of your kids and pay off your house. That's all you need. And if you're a young kid and you're still living with your parents, get the hell out of their house so they can retire. Anyway. So in the Navy, I got in trouble in the Navy. I was on the ship in San Diego. We made two trips overseas off the coast of Vietnam and various liberty ports, usually Japan, Hong Kong, the Philippines, basically. Those were the three places we would go. We would be at sea for 60 to 90 days. And then you pull into port and you got 5 days in port, which means you get to go into town for 3 nights. And you can have as much of your money as you want. And on my first cruise over there, no, I think my second cruise over there, I was like 19. And I had figured out that it was like dangerous. It was dangerous for me to go into town with too much money. That I would get too drunk, and when I got too drunk, I got too stupid. And you can end up laying dead in the gutter over there if you get too drunk and too stupid. So I put myself on a budget so that I could control my drinking. My budget was $20. It doesn't sound like a lot of money today, I know. But trust me, $20 in the 60s in a foreign land was plenty of money to do everything that a 19-year-old needs to do in one evening. And so that's what I did. But I already was in that thing where I had spotted that I didn't drink exactly right. And I tried to trick myself. So there was guys on the ship. Not everybody in the Navy drinks like an idiot. Some of those guys were sensible, and some of those guys actually went and saw sights in Hong Kong and in Japan. And I don't know if there's any sites where we were in the Philippines, but in Hong Kong and in Japan, there's sights to go see. And so I would go over with these guys that were like camera guys, to see the sights. And I could last about an hour or an hour and a half with them. And then something would happen. I'd get like itchy or something or other. And I'd go, well, look, I'm like hungry. I'm going to slide over here and get me a bowl of fried rice. And you guys go ahead and I'll catch up with you in about 30 minutes. And I would get over there and I'd spend 50 cents on a giant bowl of fried rice about this big and another 50 cents on a San Miguel beer. And then I would be over on the side of town where there was no sights to see. It was the place where the servicemen hang out and do the things that servicemen do. And I did that every time they gave me an opportunity. While I was on board that ship for like 2.5 years, they had 3 different captains, and I had to go stand in front of each one of them for various and sundry things that I actually don't even remember right now. It always was something stupid. And the thing I remember most about it is that those guys asked me the same question that my old man would always ask me. He would go, so, Maddox, what do you have to say for yourself? And it was like, that's just like a trick question. There's nothing to say about the stuff that I was doing. You know what I mean? And, I got drunk and, I'm sorry, Captain, I got drunk and that's how come I did this. Just didn't cut it, so. Anyway. So I spent 4 years in the Navy, and I got out. In the meantime, in there, when I was out in San Diego, El Centro is like 120 miles straight east of San Diego. So I would go down there, and I met this gal. She had a couple kids. I had known her actually for a long time. She had been married to a Navy doctor on the same Navy base where we were stationed, and we just got to be friends. And anyway, I stopped by to see her one day, and she was newly divorced, and she was running with some other divorcee, and yeah, they had alimony. You know what I mean? Yeah. The doctor's wife gets alimony and child support. And so when I got out of the Navy, we got together. So I had an instant, we didn't get married, but basically, you know, when you move in, you're married. When you move out, you ain't. And I moved in, so I was married, and she had 2 kids, a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old, who I already knew, who I wasn't like a stranger in their house. And so we started playing house. I was 21 and a half, I think, 21 and a half. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do. The only thing that I knew then at that point is you got an old lady and 2 kids, your ass needs to figure out a way to make money. And I had the GI Bill. The government was giving me $125 a month if I would go to college full-time, which is 15 units. And so I tried that. And what happened is it turned out that I couldn't sit in a classroom any better at 21 than I could when I left high school at 17. It just wasn't there. Not only that part of it, but the drinking part of it. And I screwed up when I scheduled the classes, because I scheduled the classes where I had this split. I had like a 2.5-hour split between morning classes and afternoon classes. And so I had this little pickup truck that always had an ice chest in it, that always had a 6-pack or 2 of beer in it, and I would go out on one of the ditch banks and strip down naked and get down in the ditch, because it's 100 and something, and get down in the irrigation ditch and just kind of hang on the weeds and float out there and sip on Budweiser. And when it's 100 and something and you drink a couple of beers, you ain't going and doing nothing. You can't do anything. When it's the thing that happens in the desert, I don't know if you've been to the desert drinking. The thing that happens in the middle of the day in the desert, if you go in to have a pitcher of beer at like noontime for lunch with the guys, and you try to come out of that bar that's like the air conditioning's got it sucked down to like 65 or something, and you come out, it's like a blast furnace. And I have like just like turned around and just went back inside. It's like, I can't go. And, you know, try to get out. I promised myself I'll leave when the sun goes down, kind of thing. And I couldn't do that either. So I spent from, I got out of the Navy in 1969. I got sober in 75. I spent that period of time trying to control my drinking, because I needed to, because I had an old lady and 2 kids. And I knew that, like, it had been a privilege, trust me, it had been a privilege for me to join the Navy and go off to defend Vietnam, whatever that was worth. And I had a lot of fun, you know. And I figured 21, if you get to go do that, and now you got an old lady and 2 kids, that's like enough playtime in a lifetime, right? For the most part, that kind of fun anyway. The kind of fun that's the kind of fun you can die from, but it's good anyhow. And so I spent the next batch of years trying to control my drinking, basically to try to get home and not be drunk, to try to get home and not be an asshole. Anyway, if you're an alcoholic, you know the drill. You know. Occasionally I could get slowed down. I tried a bunch of stuff. I had rules. I set down firm rules for myself, like don't drink scotch before the sun goes down, because you'll be too screwed up too soon, right? And so I had rules like that. And I tried not drinking hard liquor, and I tried drinking wine, except, you know. Except I like cheap wine. I'm a bargain hunter, you know. a whole gallon of Red Mountain Vin Rosé was like $1.52 with tax back then. And with a whole gallon of Red Mountain Vin Rosé, you can forget your name in about an hour. And, and that's the kind of drinking I did. I got into real estate. So I worked a couple of jobs while I was trying to go to school. First I got a job in a bar. My old man used to tend bar because he had 8 kids. He always tended bar while he was in the Navy. And he gave me these set of rules. He said, boy, if you're going to be a bartender, you need to know some stuff. My old man didn't share very much with me, but he shared this. He says, don't ever steal the man's money. Don't ever drink in the bar that you work in. And don't ever touch a woman that comes into a bar that you work in. And I was there 6 months. And I violated those rules. And I could see that that was very unhealthy for me. So I quit that job, and I got a job at a liquor store. If you never had a job at a liquor store, you need to have a job at a liquor store. So my amends to them was like $1,400. But when you have the keys to the liquor store, you're like, life's good all the time. Yeah? And so that's what I did while I was trying to go to school and trying to control my drinking. We came to Los Angeles. We left the desert, came to Los Angeles in 1970. I tried going to El Camino. I called El Camino actually like 10 years ago or something or other. I had something in the back of my head where like, man, I got some college credits. I might be pretty close to like an AA degree. If I'm close to an AA degree, then shit, man, I'll just slide on and get me a bachelor's degree in something, business or something useless like that. And I called El Camino, and the lady, I said, look, I went to school back there in like 1970, 71, 72, something like that. I gave her my name. I said, could you look up and see how many credits I have? And she says, well, that could take a while. And I said, okay. I said, well, you can call me back. She says, I'm not real busy right now. You want to hold on? I go, yeah, I'll hold on. So I don't know. She wasn't gone very long, and she came back. She came back. She said, Mr. Maddox. I go, yeah, how many credits do I have? She said, you don't have any. I go, well, like how many semesters did I go there? She said, she said, it kind of looks like maybe 3 or 4, sort of. And I said, I don't have any? And she said, no. She said, no. I said, well, like what happened? And she said, well, it looks like kind of some of everything. She said, it looks like you dropped some and then you didn't come and then you just flunked some. And she said, it looks like kind of you weren't here most of the time. I go, oh, okay. She says, yeah, Mr. Maddox. She says, no, I get it. She says, the 70s were pretty rough on a lot of people. So at least I had somebody on the phone that understood my dilemma. Anyway, so I got a real estate license in 1973. Guy came into the liquor store. He said, man, what's a guy like you doing in this liquor store? He had the real estate office right next door over on Prairie and Compton. Well, it's Marine now. People in Manhattan Beach didn't want a street running through there that said Compton on it. It used to be Compton when it came through Lawndale. And anyways, I went to work selling real estate. And like I made some money, but I couldn't stay out of the bar. And I still couldn't get home. And but I felt more justified because I was making more money. You know how that goes if you're the provider in your house. I make the money here, kind of, sort of, sometimes. If you know how real estate is, it's kind of, sort of, sometimes. And I stayed in real estate for 10 years until the interest rates got to 17, 18, 19% back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I got lucky because a buddy of mine had a plumbing company, and I was dead broke one Christmas. I think it was 1983. And I said, man, I got to have cash money like right now. And he said, well, I got a ditch that needs to get dug up in Palos Verdes tomorrow. So I was 35 years old. I went to work on the end of a shovel for $7.50 an hour. And man, I like plumbing. When you're a plumber, you got to start digging a ditch. That's the test. If you could dig the ditch straight and as deep as it's supposed to be, and falling in the direction it's supposed to fall in, so the sewage will run to the street. If you can do that correctly, then they'll teach you how to put pieces of pipe together, and then they'll call you a plumber later on. So that's what happened. So I did that for 35 years. Anyway, about a year and a half, in my last year or so of year and a half of drinking, I could not stop drinking. I could not slow down. As a matter of fact, it felt like the couple of things that I noticed that my brain didn't turn off anymore, that I would be stuck at that goddamn bar, and in my brain is just clicking around. You got to get up and get out of here. All day. Because I'd be in there at like 11, because I'm just going to stop in and get a burger and have a bubble up, because I'm quitting drinking. And I don't know if you ever drank bubble up or if you drink soda, but you can't drink much of that shit. Beer goes down much easier than soda pop. I don't know what that's about. They're both carbonated, but I couldn't stay in there and drink bubble up very long. And then I'd be doing what I always did, you know. So apparently my wife had been writing down the phone number to Alcoholics Anonymous and putting it on my nightstand. Now, she never said shit, excuse me, except for occasionally. Occasionally, towards the end, every 3 to 6 months, we'd have to have a family discussion. And in the family discussion, I would have to sincerely promise, which I did, that I would behave properly, that I would not come home drunk, that I would cut back on my drinking, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And man, I wasn't lying. I just couldn't do it. Nowhere in my head did I ever think you need to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. I never thought of that. I never thought I need to go to church. I never thought I need help. I never thought of Alcoholics Anonymous. Nothing. And she never said, you need to go. She just kept saying, you need to cut back, you know. And I would have loved to cut back. If I could have cut back, I could still be having a beer watching football down at the Grass Hut. But I came home one night about 11 o'clock, and I picked up that phone number and called Alcoholics Anonymous. I had to beg these bastards to come and talk to me. It was the Thursday night home group meeting. The meeting was over. Everybody was sitting around chewing the fat and yucking it up and having a good time. They didn't want to go make a 12-step call. And I'm going, you got to come help me. This asshole that turned out to be my sponsor, John Moore, he goes, well, why is that? I can't stop drinking. Really? You think you have a problem? Well, I don't know, but I can't stop drinking. And anyway, they came. 3 of them came. I didn't let them come to the house. I'm not that stupid, because my wife was there. The last thing I want is for my wife to like start butting in. You know how wives are. They're gonna give up information that maybe I don't want to give up just yet. So I met them down at my office, which was only like a couple blocks away. And they were there like, I don't know, an hour and a half or 2 hours or something. I don't remember squat. I'm like in and out of a blackout. Except this one guy, finally the people with time, they had like 3.5, 4 years, the people with time. They shut up and they let the new guy say something. The new guy had 85 days. And he said, it's not even that profound. He said he couldn't go anywhere he didn't have a can of beer between his legs. And no matter how bad he needed to go home, his goddamn car always turned into the liquor store. And that's all I heard. It was like, that fucking happened to me every day. Every day. This is why I don't like talking from the podium. This is really bullshit. I should be over it by now. It's not like a new story, right? I should be used to it. But that was like profound, man. How lame is that? So they left at like 1 in the morning or something or other. I don't even remember. I went back home. The only thing I remember is they said, okay, if you cannot drink tomorrow, we'll come and get you and take you to a meeting. The next day would have been Friday. So Friday they came and got me. And I didn't drink. And not only did I not drink, but that thing didn't come on me. The thing didn't come. They came every day. Yeah. Or I would change my mind. Not that I had to have a drink. I just would change my mind. I'll quit tomorrow. Or I'll just have one. And actually, I already knew that I couldn't go have one. I already knew that whatever time of the day it was when I rolled over and gave up and went and had my first beer, I knew already that the day was done. So I wasn't totally stupid. I was paying attention. And anyway. So as you guys come and get me, we go to the Friday night meeting at Birch Street. The Friday night meeting at Birch Street is a podium participation meeting, or it was then. They don't tell me that they don't call on newcomers in that meeting, so all I'm seeing is people getting up, spilling their guts. I'm like astounded. People are like standing up there talking about shit I ain't never going to tell. I'm not telling anybody. Huh? And I got this, I'm like dripping sweat. I'm like soaking wet because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be next. And then the piece de resistance is when they stood up and held hands to say the Lord's Prayer. It was like, oh no. I don't know when in my life, except for my old man, did I ever hold a man's hand. We didn't do that shit back then. It's a new world today. You guys are used to like touching and hugging and stuff like that. We didn't do that shit. That's like new wave for you new guys. You young kids that are with that touchy-feely kind of stuff. Because you had graduation ceremonies from kindergarten or something or other. So adversely affected you young people. You think that shit's all okay. Anyway, I was like freaking out, man. I was never so glad for something to be over in my life. And they said, all right, man, but we're going to a meeting tomorrow night. We'll come and get you. I go, no. I'm good, man. You just give me the addresses and I'll be there. Well, I know what that means. I dealt with enough newcomers. That's like, thanks, but no thanks. I'm out of here. And they gave me the addresses and I started showing up. I said, well, how many of these things I got to go to? The guy said, yeah, well, really, it's just a good idea if, however, you just go to a meeting like you drank, right? It's like, well, shit. You're going to have to live here. So the good news is I went to a meeting every day. The better news is my wife and kids could care less. My kids were like teenagers by then, so they don't like parents by then anyway. And my wife had her, she had a business, and they had developed an entire life that didn't involve Dick Maddox. And so they were fine with what they were doing, and I was fine with what they were doing, and they were fine with what I was doing, and I went to a meeting every night for a year. After a year, my sponsor suggested that I take a night off to stay home with the family, and I was scared to death. Like, I'm going to be there with them like all day Sunday and like all night Sunday night. It's like a long time. It's like giving a 45-minute pitch and trying to like tell the truth for the whole 45 minutes. It's like, it's not easy. And anyway, I caved in. In my group, everybody gets a sponsor at 30 days. I waited 90 days. I couldn't figure out for the life of me what I would do with a sponsor. I would hear people talk about their sponsor and how they talk to them and stuff like that. I couldn't imagine that, like, I had it in my head. I was 28. I kept thinking, like, you guys don't understand. I'm like 28. I've been to war. I'm a self-made man. I told my sponsor, actually, John, I'm a self-made man. He said, yeah, I can see that. So I get this guy to be my sponsor, and he worked me like, it was pathetic when I look back on it. He just had my number. He just knew how to work me because I balked, and I whined and pissed and moaned. I was the kind of newcomer I can't even stand to be around today. You know? And the first guy I sponsored actually was a guy like me, and I didn't spot it, you know what I mean? The guy was like, he was kind of arrogant, and he talked really loud, and he moved around when he talked. And I went to my sponsor, John, and I go, John, I'm going to fire this guy, man. He goes, well, why are you going to fire him? I go, well, the guy doesn't follow directions, and I think he's lying half the time. And I went on and on and on. And John looked at me, and he says, man, who better qualified? So, John, I wasn't anything like that. He says, dude, you were everything like that. And I was. Because what happened is I came down, I didn't drink like I was feeling great. I wasn't drinking. I didn't want to drink. I didn't have that thing. I was showing up to work. I was kind of sort of being nice at the house almost. And I thought, man, I'm not as sick as you guys. I don't think I need those steps. You guys are like a lot sicker than I am. And but the good news is, and one of the good things about being in a group where you go to meetings with the same people all the time, day in and day out, for weeks on end, is you see people come and you see people go. And like every time somebody would come and they'd be around for a little bit and then they'd go out and drink or something or other, all the old timers would go, yeah, I knew that son of a bitch was going to drink. He was balking on step number whatever, and he was lying about this and da-da-da-da-da. So I gradually got motivated to go ahead and work the steps so that maybe I could stay sober. And you know, the steps work even when even when you'd rather not do them. Yeah? Even if you could just follow the directions. What a concept, man. The one thing I could never do my whole life. I couldn't follow my old man's directions. I couldn't follow the directions at school. I couldn't follow the directions in the service very well. You know what I mean? I just wasn't good at it because I was smart. People like me, we got good ideas just come like this, man. Bam, 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 bam. New good ideas every second. The good news is kind of I'm lazy, and so I didn't execute a lot of the really good ones that I had. So probably saved my life. And I worked through the steps. I muddled my way through, you know. I made amends. We got around to talking about God. I go, John, I don't think I can do this God thing. I was raised Catholic. He said, dude, 80% of the people in the world are like Catholic. You'll be okay. He said, why don't you make a list of the things that like you don't believe, that you think you learned when you were a child in catechism, right? That's the part that cracks me up. Yeah, is I was here with this 28-year-old concept of what I learned as a Catholic, what I thought I learned, when I was 10. It's like, that makes a lot of sense, right? And so anyway, I was able to cut loose of some stuff. And he said, well, are you praying? I go, yeah, you know. He said, well, look, you need to pray every day, right? You need to ask God for help to keep you sober. And then when you get home at night, you just give him thanks that you didn't get drunk today, da-da-da-da-da. And so I was able to do that. And that's how it started. Today I have a power greater than myself that I believe. I pray every day, and I pray simple, right? I pray and I meditate, and I don't meditate for hours, and I don't pray for hours, because I'm not asking for a lot. I'm trying to keep it simple because that's what worked best for me. If I start praying for a long time, it doesn't take very long for I start looking for stuff for me. So I pray the way it says, where I'm looking for to take away my shortcomings so that I can do God's will, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the deal. The deal is God didn't save my ass so I could make a whole lot of money or have a bigger house or anything else. I'm pretty sure I got my ass saved because I need to stand up here and do this in case somebody might need to hear something or somebody might need a ride. I also owe a lot of meals in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was always over at my sponsor's house. I always managed to show up right when they were sitting down to eat. And I owe lots of meals. I owe lots of rides. And I owe lots of time. Those poor bastards listen to me ramble on, and they would go, how was your day? So how was your day? The answer to how was your day is, well, the bitch at the bank, da-da-da-da-da-da. The other guy at work, da-da-da-da-da-da. The kids didn't pick up the dog poop, da-da-da-da-da-da. The wife, da-da-da-da-da-da. He goes, no, that wasn't the question. He says, how are you? Oh, how am I? Yeah. And because I was affected by all of that stuff, because I was pretty sure I was still in charge of all of that stuff. I was pretty sure all that stuff was important. Yeah. It's important when you got two Great Danes that your kid shows up and picks up the dog poop, trust me. And on and on and on, right? And so that's the kind of knucklehead that I was. That's the kind of knucklehead I can be without Alcoholics Anonymous. That's the kind of knucklehead, actually, that I can be in Alcoholics Anonymous with 49 years sober. But I'm not that bad today. I'm not as bad as I was. I live by myself these days. So life got a lot simpler. I saw a thing came online the other day. It said, I forget. I'm not going to tell you. It's looking too peoply out there today. It's looking too peoply. That's what it said. I'm not going to go out. It's looking too peoply out there. And that's kind of how I am. I'm a nice guy, and most of my days are great as long as I don't come into contact with anybody. That's a good day. And anyway, I don't know. It's a whole bunch of stuff. Most of it doesn't mean anything except that hopefully your ass has been sufficiently kicked by alcohol. I'm assuming that's the case since somebody thinks it's the case or you wouldn't have come here. I hope you didn't come here just for fun on a Saturday night. That'd be pretty pathetic. And don't shortcut the process, man. Just follow the goddamn steps the way they're written out and don't do them by yourself because your brain don't work good. It don't work good today, and it probably won't work any better in 49 years. You'll still need people to talk to just like I do. So, I guess I'm done. I didn't cry all that bad. I don't think I lied. And the message is Alcoholics Anonymous works. That's all. Yeah.